so common. And I'm going to show you an example. So this is Stacey Barlow. She's not a real agent, so don't look her up. But she's got a post here, which I call these the hashtag blessed posts. They are kind of a listing of all the accolades, all the achievements that she's had over the past year. And not only is this confusing to a customer, because a lot of them have no idea what sales volume is or what all these numbers represent. So it's not only confusing, but again, it makes the agent the hero instead of the consumer the hero. And I would say that, again, I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I'm assuming you've probably made a similar to this, or thought about it, or thought you should. And the reason is not because we're all full of pride and want to just share all the great things we do, but a lot of times we think, well, I need to tell everyone all of the achievements that I've had, or how great I am at my job, so that people will hire me. So it's a logical thought process, but it's just not effective. People don't want another hero. They don't want a realtor that's a hero. They want to be the hero of their own story. And so I call this the hashtag blessed post, kind of another term you might have heard is humbless. So people that like to kind of brag but keep it humble. But another mistake that I see commonly is the over-advertisement of listings. So those are kind of the two main big mistakes that I see people making on social media. Constantly talking about their own kind of achievements, or just advertising constantly, just kind of a constant flow of new listings, new buyers, closings that they've had. And so essentially you create like a billboard. Your social media profile becomes like a billboard. And people don't want to be sold to, they want to be engaged with. That's the purpose of social media, is to create engagement. And so we're going to talk a good bit about that today. So you're probably wondering, okay, so if I don't do this type of post, then what do I post about? So we're going to use the power of story. And when I say power, story is so powerful. It is the most compelling way to engage with the human brain. We are captivated by stories, which is why you can curl up in a good book and get lost in it for hours on a rainy day if you don't have a 3-year-old. Or you can end up watching 5 episodes of Netflix on Netflix on a weeknight and end up dying the next day because you're just so captivated by the story that you're in. And so we can create stories on our social media that are just as engaging with our customers. So, sorry, I just lost my spot. So again, story almost has like a hypnotic effect on us. So we become transported into this story. And so the more that we can transport our customers by our social media posts, really in anything we do, even our listing presentations and our conversations with buyers and sellers, but specifically social media, the more that we can kind of transport them into the story that we're telling, we know scientifically proven that buying behaviors increase. So story is not only powerful because it's cool and it's fun and it makes you have great, exciting content for people to read, but it actually turns the dollar. It actually makes you sell more houses and engage more clients. And so the problem is a lot of, again, if we're focusing on this over-advertisement of listings or the hum brag post, hashtag blessed, kind of bragging about our achievements, we end up disrupting the stories that we tell. And so when we are constantly becoming this billboard online, it kind of pulls people out of our stories that we're telling. So for example, if you're watching a movie and you see a Kellogg's cereal box, you see the actual brand name, or I was watching a movie the other day and I saw a Jeep that was on the actual movie, and it catches your attention, it draws you out of the story, and you're like, wait, is that a paid-for ad? You're just kind of confused and it catches you off guard. So it's the same thing in your social media. So when you are trying to tell stories online, but instead your profile starts to become like an ad or feel like people are being sold to, it draws them out of the story. It disrupts the power of that story that you're trying to tell. So you're probably wondering, how am I going to use 160 characters and these tiny little boxes to tell stories online? I know, it feels super overwhelming. Where do you start? What kinds of stories do you tell? So I promise the next half of my talk is going to be a lot more practical. I'm going to give you a lot of examples, and feel free to take pictures of the slides if you want to. So the most important, most foundational concept that I want you to know is that social media is first and foremost about connecting with people. It's about relationships. It's about deepening existing relationships with people that you already know, and it's about forming new relationships with people that you don't know. So it's about these connections that we form. So the mistake that I see so commonly made is when people jump right to creating posts or even pouring money into ads on social media without first thinking about the people in those relationships. So the more that you are in person with the community and putting people first in your life, I promise you the more effective your social media is going to be, because that's the purpose of it. And one thing I love about Carolina One, just kind of being a part of the company for so long, is it really is a company that puts people first. And so I know that's your goal as a realtor too, is not just to come out and create a bunch of ads and posts that make you look great, but you want to connect with people and you want to help them achieve their dreams. So it's about connecting with people. And so one caveat I want to say, kind of again driving this point home, is that social media is a tool in the marketer or the agent's tool belt. So I hope that you will all become great at creating posts and understanding how to use these platforms. But I also want you to try to think through, how can I be better at the community? How can I better serve the communities that I'm in? So, whether that's showing up for that run club that you've committed to at 6 a.m. and actually being there, whether that's joining the PTA to get to know some other moms. Again, flesh relationships, people, human connections are the most important. So start there, and then you're going to have a lot more to work from as far as creating stories. So the goal of social media is to build an engaged tribe that's invited into the stories that you tell. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 different ways that you can do that. 3 ways that are super practical when you are coming up with content, posts that you want to put on your social media profile. And you've kind of got a little diagram there of these 3. There you go. So they're relevance, clarity, and authenticity. And I'm going to dive into each of these 3 and kind of give you some practical tips. So the first component of crafting a customer-focused post is clarity. And so, can the customer understand this quickly and without hesitation? That seems really simple, but I promise so many of the posts that we put out there are not clear. They're confusing and make people get multiple times to understand it. So some ways that you can craft clear posts are going to be having one message per post. So one thing that you're trying to communicate. Don't try to tell a story that's the super long caption, but it should be really concise with one message. So what I mean by one message, let's say that your purpose of this post is problem solving. So you want to present a problem that your customer faced and then how you as the guide solve it. So maybe that's again, kind of the first time home buyer example. So you've got a first time home buyer that was really afraid of purchasing a home because they didn't think they could afford it, or they, you name all the fears that come with it. So that was the problem. Solution, found the home of their dreams, and they walked on the other side, and now they own a great home. So that could be one post with one message. Or maybe your post is more focused on creating value. So you want to kind of do a 3 steps to VA loans, or kind of demystifying VA loans. That could be one post. Again, what I'm explaining is that you want one message to be conveyed through one post. The next tip I have with clarity is to make sure your photo matches your caption. Again, it seems like it would go without saying, but a lot of times we have a really great photo that we want to put out there, but we don't really have a caption that matches, and it ends up just confusing. So you want to make sure that the photo goes with the caption and that it's communicating the same message. And the third thing with clarity is avoiding cute catchphrases. So a lot of times I see people wanting to write a catchy, clever kind of caption to make it, I don't know why we want to do that, but I see that very often, and it ends up confusing the customer. So what I would say with that is find a buddy. I'd call this the buddy check method. So find a buddy that's not an agent, someone that's not in your business, that can check your posts before you put them out there. So maybe it's a friend in another industry, maybe someone other than spouse that might kind of tell you it looks great when it doesn't or something, but find a buddy that you can send out like a test caption to and say, hey, is this clear? And they can be a great person to bounce it off of before putting it out there. Then I'm going to show you an example of a clear post. Again, feel free to take pictures of these. I created them all, so you're not stealing from someone else. But this is Sarah Smith, a realtor, and she has sold a condo on Isle of Palms. So this post is clear because A, the photo matches the caption. We're talking about a housewarming party. And then B, it's a problem solution post. So she's talked about how this couple now lives close to the beach, clearly kind of solving the problem of a lifestyle change that they were wanting. So crystal clear, I know exactly what I'm trying to communicate, or she's trying to communicate at first glance. The next pillar is relevance. And so what relevance has to do with is problem solving. So the question up here is, does this solve my ideal customer's problem? So the minute that we stop talking about our customers' problems is the minute that they stop paying attention to our brand. Problems are so important, and we heard that this morning. We talked about pain versus pleasure, but don't be afraid to talk about problems, because that's what catches people's attention. Like John Ursulo said, it puts the hook in. And so we want to talk about those problems, not because we want to be manipulative, but because we want to say, hey, we understand what you're going through. We see what's really on the other side. I had John from the central office come up to me a minute ago and say that he had a client that just sold their house, and they told him that they didn't just sell their house, but that their marriage was better because of it, because they were unburdened by this house. That's problem solving, that's relevance, that's what makes people say, wow, he understands, she understands me. A few other points about relevance. A couple questions that I always ask myself: will they care, and does this matter? So again, making sure that your posts are solving problems. So what we're going to do is a quick 2-minute exercise, and I'm going to have you jot down a few problems that you feel like are commonly faced with your clients. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. So and again, examples of problems: first-time home buyer fear, sellers running out of space, needing to upsize, downsizing because they're empty nesters and they're constantly reminded of their children being gone when they pass their roofs. Think of some of those problems and go drop them